In the previous video, we had discussed about the design of canals using Lassie's theory and Kennedy's theory. We had also discussed some of the numerical problems also. So in this video, we are going to discuss about reservoirs. So before I explain what is reservoir, I'll just try to take you through a look of what a reservoir will look like. Like for example, I'll take the Almaty Dam. I'll try to show you the aerial view of the Almaty Dam and try to explain the components of a reservoir is. Okay. Right. So before going to that video, we'll try to understand what is the difference between dam and a reservoir is. Dam is an obstruction which is constructed across a river to pound the water in the upstream side. Okay, you might have seen in live, or you might have seen in several videos and everywhere, that there is a barrier which is constructed across flow of water, and the water that gets stored, the structure which is supposed to act as a barrier will be called as dam. But what is reservoir is? Reservoir is basically including all the components from dam to the spillway to the canal structure and everything, the water that is stored in the upstream side. This entire scheme or this entire project will be called as reservoir. Okay, so let us take a look into that figure or the aerial view of the Almaty Dam so that we can understand. Now you can see the view of Almaty Dam from the top, right? So this is your Almaty Dam. So in the Almaty Dam, as you can see, this is the upstream side where we have stored the water. This is the area which you can see that the water has been stored, and then as we zoom in and go near, we'll find out that there is a structure that is constructed across the flow of water, and this structure is obstructing the water which is flowing in the downstream side or towards the gravity. So because of this obstruction, as you can see, the water has been stored. Now there are several investigative measures that have to be considered before you construct a dam. We'll get back to that later. Okay, first let us try to understand what this reservoir is basically, right? So as you can see, Almaty Dam. So basically what we do is that we find the narrowest path on any narrowest cross section of a river basin, and then we construct a barrier along it. Okay, what we must basically try to understand is that we need to find out the two rigid banks. If there are rigid banks, two rigid banks, across those rigid banks we are going to construct a barrier. Okay, as you can see, this side is a mountainous area, and similarly on the other side also mountainous area is there. These two mountainous areas are being connected by this barrier, and this barrier will store the water in the upstream side, right? Okay, as we take a closer look into this figure, we'll find out that this barrier is split into several parts. Okay, so first of all, let me explain. This is the dam. This barrier will be called as dam, and this dam is basically a gravity dam. So what does the gravity means? Gravity is basically representing the weight of the dam. Okay, so whatever the forces that are acting on the dam, it will resist those forces by the self weight of the dam itself. So this gravity dam is basically made up of the concrete. Concrete has a huge amount of weight, and even we increase the specific density of the concrete in order to increase the weight of the concrete. If the weight of the concrete increases, the weight of the dam will increase. So just from the weight of the dam, what we do is that we resist all the forces that are acting on it. So there are several forces that are acting other than the water force also. Water force is the major force that is acting on the dam. Other than that, there is a uplift pressure is there is a silt pressure is there. There are other pressures, like for example wave pressure will be there, and earthquake pressures will be there. So when you study the dams, you will when you study the gravity dam, you will come to understand what are the different forces that will be acting on the gravity dam, and how the weight of the dam itself can resist all the other forces. Okay, so let us quickly look into this figure and try to understand that these are the two barriers that we have. The rigid boundaries that we have. This rigid boundary is connected by this barrier, and this will act as a gravity dam. If you look closer into this view, you will find out that there is a small section where there is no spillway. What we'll do is this entire gravity dam will be split into two parts. One is non-spillway portion, the other we'll call it as spillway portion. So what is this spillway and non-spillway portion? You can see this in the figure that this portion doesn't have any opening. As you can see in the other part, from here to here, there are several gates are there. If I open these gates, the water will flow through the body of the dam. There is an opening that is made through the body of the dam. The water will start flowing through the body of the dam. But that is not the case in this length, in this small length. This is the approach length that we have. Okay, so this portion we call it as a spillway portion. This we call it as non-spillway portion. So why these spillways are situated? What we do is that when we estimate the demand, so based on the demand, we try to construct our dam. Okay, so we have to store the water such that we can satisfy the demand from our users. Okay, so if the water level rises above the demand level, then what we must do is that we must let the water flow towards the downstream side. So to make sure the water flows in case of excess or excess discharge, what we do is we create opening into the body of dam. So the water which is stored beyond the necessity or beyond the maximum level, the water will start flowing through these openings and it will flow towards the downstream side. Okay, so this is the spillway and non-spillway portion. This is the gravity dam, and there is a small building that you can the huge building. This huge building that you see is basically the power station that we have at our Almaty Dam. So this is what a dam will look like. This is what a dam is made up of. Okay, but if I include all these portions like the spillway, non-spillway portion, hydroelectric power generation, the canal network, and also the water spread area in the upstream side, as you seen earlier. So this entire thing will be called as your reservoir. So this is what reservoir makes of. Reservoir includes all the hydraulic components as well as the water that is stored in the upstream side. This will be called as our reservoir. Okay, so this abstraction or this barrier or this structure will be called as dam. If we include all the other hydraulic components, it will be called as reservoir. Okay, right. So after understanding reservoir, what we must do is that we must try to understand what are the investigations that are to be done before we plan for a construction of reservoir. So we will divide it into three groups. One is engineering survey, geological survey, and then hydrological investigations. Okay, so in engineering survey, as you know, as an engineer, you know that we must collect some of the basic data of the space that we have. So after collecting all the spatial data, like for example, we must know what is the level of water that will increase in the dam. With the increase of the level of water, how much area will get submerged or how much of the area will get pounded. So get that idea, we must find out how much is the area. Okay, then we must find out the storage elevation curve. Storage elevation curve is basically if you keep on pounding the water, if you keep on increasing the level of water, what will be the storage that is possible. So like this, we need to find out all the data or details that are required to construct a dam, which will be engineering survey. Now coming to geological investigation, you might have studied the geological investigation when you were in the third semester. When you are studying the geology, there you might have come across the geological investigations that are required for construction of reservoir. So first thing is that how tight your water basin is. So tightness of the water basin basically implies with what kind of soil material that we have at the site of construction or at the site of our reservoir being planned, whether it is a pervious in nature or impervious in nature. So there are other details also that are required. So the tightness of water basically represents whether the bottom of the reservoir is pervious or impervious in nature. If it is pervious in nature, it means what? The water will seep out and it may eventually damage the dam. If it is of impervious in nature, there will be less uplift pressure. Because of that, it will create a water tightness and it will avoid the water getting seeped out. Okay, so we must first try to understand this geological condition, then suitability of foundation, whether the weight that we are applying from the gravity dam is very huge and the weight itself is resisting the water force and all the other forces that are acting on the dam. So you need to check the foundation of the dam, whether it's a hard rock strata or any loose soil strata is there. So that is going to define whether that particular foundation is suitable for construction of dam or not. And other than that, there are features like faults, folds, and fissures. These are basically the cracks that are beneath the surface, so which might increase the seepage of water, or which might even damage damage the construction of the dam. And in future there might be a situation because of the earthquake or anything, these faults and folds and fissures may increase, and because of that there can be a damage or a destruction that will happen to the dam. So before you plan for a reservoir, you have to do all this investigation. So type and depth of overburden or superficial deposits, whatever the deposits of soils that have taken place, we need to study all of that. So we need to understand the layers of the soils that are situated, so that will give you an idea of how tightness the water is. So these are some of the basic geological investigation. So other than that, you must try to understand what kind of soil is available, whether it is permeable or not, what kind of rocks are there, whether they are permeable and soluble or not, and what are the groundwater conditions in the region. And other than that, there is one more important thing, is that you need a large quantity of materials for a construction of dam. So you cannot transport it from a longer distance, right? So we need to find out the places or the sites where we can acquire the materials that are required, like for example soil or aggregates, fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, and also the cement that is required, right? So you need to, because dam is a huge structure, there is a lot of materials that are required, and whether these materials are readily available at the site or near the site, we need to identify all of that. So this is our geological investigation. So we understood what is engineering applications or engineering surveys that are to be done, then the geological investigations which are to be carried out. After that, coming to the important point, which is hydrological investigation. So what is hydrological investigation? The point is very simple. There is a demand of water for the users, and you are coming up with a reservoir. You have to understand whether the hydrological conditions are feasible or not. Hydrological conditions means what? Whether there is enough rainfall, whether the rainfall will generate the amount of runoff, whether the amount of runoff is going to create an yield which will be equivalent to that of your demand, right? So your yield means what? Basically the amount of water that you will store in your reservoir, whether that water stored in the reservoir will be equivalent to that of demand or not. So these studies are to be done. To understand these studies, what are the details that we require? We need to understand what is the runoff pattern, we need to understand what is the rainfall pattern, then we need to assess the storage that is possible with different rainfall events or rainfall seasons, and we need to also study the hydrographs. Now coming to what is hydrograph, we have already studied the hydrographs. Hydrographs are basically the plot of discharge with respect to time, right? So at different seasons, at different rainfall periods, what will be the discharge in the river? That will give you an idea of storage of water in different seasons, right? And also you will also understand that if there is a worst flood or a worst rainfall period, or because of that rainfall there will be huge amount of runoff that will be generated. If the runoff that is generated is beyond the demand or beyond the storage capacity of your dam, how do you discharge that excess amount of water, that surplus amount of water? So in order to define the spillway capacity, the spillways that you seen previously in the Almaty Dam, you can imagine how many number of gates that are provided, right? So you need to identify what is the worst flood that is supposed to come. Because of that, what is the quantity of water that is to be disposed of in the downstream side. Okay, so this is all the identification, or this is all the investigations that are to be done, right? So after understanding our investigation that is required, let us try to look into the different zones of the reservoirs. So what are zones of the reservoir is? This is a cross section that you can see in the diagram. So here we can typically see this dotted line is representing the spillway portion. Okay, so this spillway portion, you can see this is written as crest of spillway. Okay, we'll come from the top. This is the top of the dam. Okay, this is called MWL. MWL is basically the maximum water level. Okay, So after maximum water level, you can see that there is a top flood control pool. Then we have FRL, which can be also called as full tank level or full reservoir level. Okay, so full reservoir level is basically, we can say that this is the level of water that can be stored maximum. Okay, we should not store water beyond that level. Okay, right. So what is this maximum water level? Okay, there is a level between top of dam and MWL. This level we will call it as freeboard. Freeboard is basically at any worst situation, even if it's the worst flood that has happened, this portion has to always remain free of water. Okay, this portion has to remain free of water. That's why it is called as freeboard. Okay, now this level where we call it as maximum water level. Maximum water level means what? It is the maximum level the water can reach. So that's why it is called as maximum water level. Okay, so now FRL to MWL, there is a level, there is a depth that we are representing here. This is called as surcharge storage. Surcharge storage is basically the maximum depth of water that can be disposed of easily. Okay, like for example, when the water level reaches to this FRL, which is the final reservoir level or full reservoir level, beyond, if the water level keeps on increasing beyond this level, we'll open the spillway, because the level of water that is increased beyond this level will be called as excess rainfall or surcharge water. So we'll dispose of that surcharge storage. Okay, now coming to this level, this we call it as a dead storage level. So this dead storage level is basically the bottommost level of water. So what you do is that you don't extract the water when it reaches to the dead storage level. This dead storage level is required for the life of aquatic lives. Okay, whatever the animals that are living that are living in the water, they should survive on the basis of this water itself. So that's why we call it as dead storage level. Then we have minimum pool level. Minimum pool level is the minimum level that is to be required. It is basically similar to that of the dead storage level itself. So this is what the cross section of the reservoir will look like, and you can see that this is the live storage capacity. Live storage capacity means what? This is the maximum level of water. If the water level is between dead storage level to the full reservoir level, only this water we will use. Okay, if the water rises above the FRL, this will be disposed of. If the water level goes below the dead storage level, we are not going to use it, right? So this is the live storage capacity of the reservoir. Okay, so after understanding the zones of storage, let us go to understand how to determine the reservoir capacity, how to determine it. Okay, so before we determine the reservoir capacity, there are some of the definitions that we need to understand. What is the reservoir yield is? Yield is basically the amount of water which can be supplied from a reservoir in a specified interval of time. Okay, how much water that can be supplied to the users, that will be called as reservoir yield. Now safe or firm yield is the maximum quantity of water that can be supplied even in the worst or critical dry period. Assume that there is worst drought that has happened, because of that there is no rainfall at all, or the minimum rainfall is there. So even in that minimum rainfall period also, how much water that we can supply to our users will be called as safe or firm yield. Okay, secondary yield is the quantity of water available in excess of safe yield during the periods of high flow. Okay, when there is a high flow of water beyond the safe yield, the amount of water that is available to supply water will be called as secondary yield. Average is basically the arithmetic average of safe and secondary yield. Okay, now after understanding all these terms, reservoir yield, safe yield or firm yield, secondary yield, average yield, we'll try to understand. Before construction of reservoir, we need to get an idea of how much water that can be stored in the reservoir. To understand this, what we'll do is we'll use the mass curve. Okay, you might have heard about the mass curve in the first module. So what is mass curve? Mass curve is basically the cumulative value of rainfall over a period of time, right? Here the mass curve is little different. Earlier it was the rainfall which was considered for your mass curve. Here we are going to take the accumulated inflow or the discharge, we can call it as, right? So accumulated discharge or inflow, or we can also call it as cumulative discharge, against the time. Okay, so you can see in this figure is representing the mass curve. Okay, so the mass curve, as you see seen in the previously in the rainfall also, the mass curve is something which keeps on increasing, right? So when you come to hydrograph, what will happen, it will increase and then it will decrease, because on the y-axis we have discharge and the x-axis we have time period. But in case of mass curve, on y-axis we have cumulative discharge. Okay, cumulative discharge is there, and on the x-axis again same, the time is there. Okay, right. So how do we try to understand this graph? Okay, so first of all, let us take over a period of time, we'll collect all the discharge data at a river or at a stream. All those discharge data will be cumulatively added up. Okay, and then it is plotted. So this is some curve that I got. Okay, so what it basically represents is this is the increase of rainfall. As you can see from here to here, because of the rainfall, the discharge is continuously increasing. After that, assume that there is no rainfall for a month, for a few months. On those days, the discharge is very less, right? Again, there is a rainfall period. Again, assume that there completes 1 year, and after that, in the next year, again there is a sudden increase in the mass curve, because again there is a rainfall. Because of the rainfall, the runoff will come, and because of the runoff, the discharge will increase. Because of the discharge, this level will keep on increasing. See here, this is what happening over a period of 5 years or something like this. You have to collect the data for several years. For several years you have to collect the data. So after collecting all the data, you will plot this graph. Then you draw the demand curve. What is your demand over a year? And this demand curve is also basically the demand of water for entire year when it is kept cumulatively. Okay, assume this is the starting year. At the initial period, initially the value is 0, right? As you go with respect to time, the demand is something which will remain constant. How do you calculate the demand? If you are calculating for irrigation, the demand for particular month will be there. If you calculate the domestic demand, you can calculate how much is the consumption of water for every community, and then you try to define how much water is to be supplied. Similarly, for industrial area, demand curve can be considered to be constant. Okay, so now after understanding the demand curve, we will plot the demand curve also here. Then we take the parallel, we'll take a line which is parallel here, as you can see, to the demand curve itself. But this line has to be drawn tangential to the high points of the mass curve. Wherever you find the high points over here, as you can see, A and F are the high points. At those, we'll draw a parallel line. Okay, parallel line, such that it remains tangential to the high point of mass curve. After plotting this line AB and FG, which are parallel to the demand curve, and the line will start from the tangential point of high points of the curve. So once you draw this, what we'll do next is we'll draw, or we'll find out a point which is having a maximum depth. Okay, as you can this is CD and this is HJ. Like this, we'll find out the maximum depth that can be possible in this depression. This is the depression that is taking place. So in this entire portion, we'll find out the maximum ordinate that is possible. Okay, so from here we'll draw perpendicular or we'll draw parallel for this time axis. So when we draw a line parallel to the time axis, then we drop a perpendicular from here so that it touches to the maximum depth in this depression. Like this is how we'll try to plot. So after plotting, what we identify here is that this CD portion is representing the maximum discharge that can be accumulated in our reservoir at any given point. Okay, like this we'll try to judge for over several periods, and whichever is the maximum ordinate that we get, we'll call it as the maximum storage capacity. Okay, right. So this is how we determine the storage capacity in a reservoir using the mass curve and demand curve. Okay, so if you have demand curve, which can be acquired from the details of the users, and the mass curve is something which is plotted against the discharge, cumulative discharge, and the time series, which can be observed from the stream gauge stations. After getting these two, we can find out how much is the storage capacity of the reservoir. Okay, right. Now going to the last portion, which is economical height of the dam. How do you say something is economical? We call it as economical only when the amount of water, that amount of money that we spend will be equivalent to the productivity of that product, right? So like for example, you can see there are two graphs that are drawn here. One is the graph which is having a y-axis as construction of cost of construction, and the x-axis is dam height. We'll try to understand this graph, then we can go to the other graph that we have. Okay, so before that, as you can see in the previous slide, we have understood how much is the yield that can be calculated, how much is the storage capacity of a reservoir. So after understanding that, what we'll do is we'll study how much is the volume of water stored with the increase in the height of water. Okay, as you increase the height of water, we'll judge how much is the water that will be stored. So if the height is very less, the water stored is very less. Okay, if you keep on increasing the height of water, the area, the spatial area with which the water gets pounded will also keep on increasing. After some point of time, the increase in the water spread area will remain constant. Okay, the area will not keep on increasing, right? You try to understand your sink, the sink that you have at your home. Initially, if you go at the highest point, the difference of area, the change of area will remain almost like constant, right? When you go to a higher heights, your bowl will complete, right? The shape of the bowl will complete. Similar to that, your catchment area is also, right? When you reach after some point, some height, your water spread area will be same as that of its previous height also, right? It will be nearly same. So the amount of water that will be stored will be not greater, right? But one thing we need to understand, as we see this graph, when we keep on increasing the height of the dam, the cost of construction is also increasing. As you can see here, from here to here, almost like the cost of construction and dam height was linear. Okay, after that it is getting into exponential curve, right? As you increase the height of the dam, the cost of construction is also rapidly increasing, right? So we need to keep this at our end, and then what we do is that we'll find out how much is the cost per unit storage. If you have stored some amount of water, when you increase the height of the dam, there is a cost that is incurred with the storage of water with respect to the volume of water that is stored, right? Now as you can see, this curve is something which is plotted after several experiment or understanding the practical considerations. As you keep on increasing the height of the dam, okay, as you keep on increasing the height of the dam, you can see that the cost per storage is reducing. This is the reducing because as you increase the height of the dam, the storage is also increasing, the volume of water that is stored is increasing. But as you can see at this point, if you increase the height of the dam beyond this point, okay, the stored water is very less. As I explained earlier with respect to the example of your sink, the amount of water that is stored will be less, or comparatively